Should the Power Universe continue? That is the topic of today's video. And this is a very interesting question because a lot of people have been asking me this, DMing me this, and this is probably one of the questions that I've been asked the most since I started making content. People have been asking not only should it continue, but how far should it go? And it's interesting because when you go back to when it first started, I've heard Courtney Kemp, Mark Cannon, 50 Cent, all the people who produced the show were involved with the universe. They said they didn't really plan on doing a universe. Like, they didn't plan on doing this whole Power universe thing. They really just started with the OG Power. And I believe around maybe season 3 and 4, when they started seeing kind of the development of Tariq's character and how he could be the next Ghost and whatnot, that's when they started to kind of curate the spin-offs, possibly Force, possibly Raising Kanan, and maybe even Power Legacy. They had an idea of doing that. Well, the question is it still successful? Are they still making money off of it? And I think in the industry, especially Hollywood nowadays, they've gotten away from just telling stories anymore. Like, I personally, when I watch TVs, movies, films, whatever, I want to see a story being told. And however long it takes to tell that story is how long this should take. And they shouldn't try to continue telling a story that wasn't planned or doesn't make sense or doesn't have a direction just to keep making money. Right? You look at Squid Game, for an example. Squid Game was supposed to be a one-season type of show. They didn't expect that show to have any type of success. That show almost didn't even get greenlit, right? But then they went viral. I think they did over a couple billion hours in streams. They netted Netflix like $900 million in revenue, and then boom, they got renewed for 2 seasons right off the bat. And even the director of Squid Game was like, he lost his teeth, like he was stressing during those 2 seasons because he didn't plan this, right? He was under pressure by Netflix and the whole organization to get this product out. Now, I don't think the Power Universe people are under pressure. There's been a lot of talks about Starz separating from Lionsgate, which was a partner company they were working with, which was funding a lot of their projects. Now that that's not happening anymore, it explains why, these spin-offs have ended and they're kind of combining things with Power Legacy, and obviously we're still getting Power Origins. But when you ask these questions, it's like, we still love the show. Like, me personally, I think they should keep it going as long as possible. Like, I'm a huge fan of the universe. I have been since I was young. I've been watching the show since it started. It's 2025. I started watching around like 2015, 2016. So I've been watching the Power Universe grow and evolve. I've watched these actors and performers grow into their craft and leave and go do other things and come back and things of that nature. So I'm all in. One thing about me is, like, some people get salty because they say that I give my opinions and they say that I'm hating, but the reality is, like, I just give logical opinions. I just give my true perspective. It's never hate on the show. It's never glazing or whatever. I just say what I see. And I'm all for the Power Universe continuing to grow. And I think that this Tommy and Tariq show is a perfect time to start introducing a bunch of new characters so that when that show is over, they can do a whole new show with, either new characters from that show or just new characters that we've never seen before, because they need to prepare the fans for that. Because Power Origins is going to be another prequel where, yes, you have returning characters, but it's not the same actors. And they're not going to be the exact same characters that they were in the OG Power. Like, people don't understand this. Ghost, Tommy, Kanan, all of these people, they're not going to be the same characters you've seen in the original Power. They're not in their prime. They're not peaking anymore. Like, OG Power was peak Ghost. I don't want to say peak Tommy, because I think what we're seeing in Force right now is peak Tommy, but that was peak Ghost and peak a lot of other characters. So there's a good chance, like, they're not going to be the way that they were in the prequel, especially depending on the timeline. We know Kanan is possibly going to cross over to Power Origins and meet up with Ghost and Tommy, and that's when you're going to kind of see that whole relationship between them and Breeze. But there's not going to be a lot of things that are similar than they were in the OG Power. You can expect a lot of differences. You can probably expect some new characters that we didn't see in the OG Power, you know what I'm saying, like Ghost parents and stuff like that. But I'm all for this universe continuing. For me, it's like, when it gets to the point where it just stops making sense, where the stories stop making sense, the characters stop developing and stop growing and stop having direction, that's when I feel like we need to ask the question of, does this need to continue? But I mean, it's as popular as ever. I mean, Power Book 2 Go Season 4 did crazy numbers. crazy numbers. I think they peaked in viewership in that fourth season, and that's why so many people are wondering, well, why did that show end? Why did they cancel it? Well, because of money, and obviously now we see, with Power Legacy being announced, they're just going to recoup that show along with Force in Power Legacy. But even Raising Kanan, like they had a huge season. It wasn't the best season in terms of quality of content, but they definitely had the most viewership they've ever had, and most press, and most just eyes on the show as far as ever before. So I think it's going in the right direction, and especially with social media, things are going to continue to grow. They're going to continue to push the show forward, and things will look good for them. So I'm all for this universe continuing. I don't know how you guys feel about it. I feel like anybody who's been there since the beginning, who's still watching, will want the show to keep going. It's mainly the people who stop watching after a certain point, or they stop watching when Ghost died. They're the ones who are like, nah, the universe doesn't need to continue. But if you're a real fan of Power, you want Power to keep going in whatever aspect. Like, I don't care if it gets to the point where we don't see any OG characters no more. Like, if they wanted to move on from all the characters that we know now and to curate new characters, I would be fine with that, because that's how it started. Like, people don't understand, one of the things about Power that made it so great is a lot of the actors and people that was involved with Power, we had no idea. We didn't know these people, or at least I didn't know these people. Like, I knew 50 Cent because obviously he was 50 Cent. And there might have been a couple other people that I may have recognized, but I didn't recognize. Like, I knew Joseph Secor, like I recognized him from some other stuff, but I didn't know it was him until I went back and I was like, oh, that's him. He was in this, he was in that. So there's a lot of people that made their careers off of Power, like who built their name and went on and did better stuff. So I definitely think that curating new characters and adding new people and hiring new people is the smartest thing to do. And I got a lot of hate for saying this, because I was like, they need to stop casting rappers and a bunch of well-known people who don't need those opportunities. Like, with all that being said, I still think there's a lot of potential, and I actually think they're going in the right direction with this whole Power universe. I think they just need to take their time. One thing that I'm very, very happy about is the fact that they haven't rushed Power Origins. They didn't rush to announce Power Legacy, which I'm pretty sure they had talks about months ago, maybe even years ago, before they released that information. I like how they're taking their time, because they know that these shows are going to make or break the viewership moving forward in this universe. And when you establish something like Power Never Ends, I don't think people realize how much pressure you're putting on the franchise. When you're saying something is never going to end, that means you're going to keep continuing, you're going to keep bringing out the product, you're going to keep increasing the quality of the product as well, because quantity without quality becomes diluted. I'm sure you guys understand that. And even me as a content creator, I understand that. When I started first posting content, I put out a lot of content, because I wanted to get better at the quality and the art of doing it. And once I got a little bigger, that's when I started to decrease the quantity and focus even more on the quality. So I think canceling these shows, combining them into one show, and then you have Origins, that's smarter, which means that's less attention that you have to spread out into different shows, and you can focus in on that attention and money, honestly, on the people who are working on these two specific shows. And then from there, you kind of build different shows and storylines from those two shows. Because think about it, they had Power Book 2 Ghost, they had Raising Kanan, you had Force, like all on at the same time. I'm sure some people were working on other shows and producing other stuff. Like, it was just so much going on, and it was great. I enjoyed it. I'm not complaining, but I'm saying when it comes to the production of the product and the quality, there's probably better things that they can do. And obviously they wanted to save money, which is probably the main reason why they did this, not because they wanted to make the best content. They wanted to save bread, and it's a business. So with understanding that, I think we just got to keep being patient. I think the only thing they need to do is just put out better content when it comes to promoting the show, and like in the off seasons of the show, like put out more content, be consistent with posting. It's the social media age. Like, if you have a huge phenomenon cultural TV show and it's off for 6 months and you're not posting any content to keep the viewers engaged, when it does come out, the anticipation isn't as high. You know what I mean? That's why I think like guys like me, Mark Dark and MovieBot, some other couple of people really keep this Power universe alive in the off season, because without us, I don't really think people would be talking about it like that. That's just how I view things. You know what I'm saying? I don't usually never talk like that. That's just how I view things. Anyways, you guys, let me know what you guys think about this topic. I think it's quite an interesting conversation. I'm sure it'll be heavily loaded on both sides. You guys let me know what you guys think down below. I'll catch you guys in the next.